hello, and welcome to a special edition of the Prevention Corner with the Crime Prevention Association of Michigan. I'm your host, Rich Coleman from the Pittsfield Township Department of Public Safety here in Ann Arbor, Michigan. And we are part of an amazing organization called the Crime Prevention Association of Michigan. And we're coming up on our 2022 conference. And this year, all of our speakers, we're reaching out to them to not only get the emphasis behind their business and their workshops and the information that will be presented. But we also wanted to make sure that our members who cannot attend the conference will be able to get the information, the contact information. We put QR codes up with all of our presenters and their organizations so that members can go to the specific websites to get content, to get information, as well as how do you reach those individuals and those companies. We have West Michigan Glass Coating. And Joe, I'm really excited about what your product is and your information. And as I've been sharing with a lot of our members and all of those who have come behind all of these incredible years, my 30 plus years doing crime prevention, how important the concept of crime prevention through environmental design, or CEPTEP, the concept, which is really about building security, personal safety in a building, but it gives you a perspective that you look at a building and doing security surveys completely different. Glass has always been an important tool to make sure that we understand how do we protect that lower level, those businesses that may be impacted by the potential threat. Talk to us about West Michigan Glass Coating and your products.
Well, I'd be happy to, and thanks for having me, Rich. So we're a small family business. We've been at it for pushing 15 years now. When we got into it, we were thinking that we were just going to be tinting homes, some commercial buildings and stuff like that. Well, there was this kind of intriguing product called security film that we didn't know a whole lot about, but it was typically about 1.5 mil. Some of them were 2 mil, some of them were 4 mil. And, more times than not, we were doing them for projects where, say, a piece of glass needed to be tempered because it was close to a bathtub or something, and it wasn't. In lieu of swapping that out with tempered glass, you could apply this product, and it would bring it up to those standards to satisfy an inspection. As plenty of things have happened over the years and tragedies and such, this product has kind of come to the forefront as a security measure. So really, it's kind of a two-part system where, first of all, you apply the product to the glass, but then you make a bond between the film and the frame of either the door or window. So more times than not, we're dealing with either main doors, storefronts, but if budgets allow, we'll do the entire envelope of a building. So, what I try to do when I'm maybe assessing a building is you always start at, your most vulnerable points, and kind of work out from there as budgets allow. So, what I like to do is, humans are kind of hardwired to enter buildings through doors. So, in a perfect world, all doors are going to be secured. We've even found this in cell phone stores that have been broken into, where you could have a very easy piece of glass next to the door that just with one brick you could get into, but they still struggle to get through the door because humans enter buildings through doors. So it's just kind of the unfortunate part of my job is having to think like a criminal from time to time, and try to find where the weak points are in buildings. And the main entrances are always going to be a big one, but you should also try to find maybe some more hidden entrances that there's going to be less eyes on you, and try to fortify those areas. So these products are great at keeping people out, and the name of the game is buying time. These aren't bulletproof, and this is the biggest thing, educational hurdle I deal with, when I walk into, and I wouldn't expect people to understand all the ins and outs of these products. The common person shouldn't have to, but these aren't bulletproof, but a bullet will pass through and you would still have to penetrate through the glass. And this is really just a security measure that is going to buy you time and to get your emergency plan in place.
And that's so important to think about the global picture of what you're offering and not making sure that people understand that there's a bigger picture of you can't stop everything. And
Yep.
and and the thing that is most important is to again buy time, slow down the process of someone attempting to gain access to a various location. So in
Correct.
addition to that, talk to us about your origins and your business.
And made it very clear I was no longer going to do anything like that. And this company happened to come up for sale. Um, and my dad kind of looked into it, and we talked it over, and it seemed like an emerging industry with a lot of potential for growth, and it just kind of jumped in full force. And through the years, like I mentioned earlier, it kind of started as just kind of tinting products, mostly for reducing fading in homes, maybe some glare reduction, privacy, but the greatest emerging sector has proven to be security products. And uh, you know we've become experts in the field, by necessity almost, because the second part of the film installation is the attachment system. Well, that happens to be something that should be done by a glazer. Well, we were up against deadlines and contracts, so we needed to become glazers
Yeah,
really quickly, or we would be in a lot of trouble.
sure.
So we kind of figured out that end and learned all the importance. That aspect of it is imperative, and I think one of our strengths is that we do that in house now. We're not just getting a purchase order, throwing some film on the glass and walking away saying "Have a nice day." We are actively in here making sure that. Oh, your phone just came out, but I still have one.
Gotcha.
Just making sure that
Sure.
these things are installed to spec and then some.
Mhm.
Because there is a lot of liability attached with these products, and I've actually I think whoever these other companies that are doing it halfway are kind of crazy, because it's like, yes, um, you know we want to be on the up and up with everything, but on top of that, there's the potential for human life loss, and
Mhm.
I don't want to have that on my conscience. So we make sure that everything is done to spec, and then some. Because I've walked into situations in school districts where they've had an interior film that was installed on the exterior. Now, functionally, yeah, that still was going to, it was going to work,
Mhm.
but it wasn't going to work as it was designed to. I've gone into other school districts that didn't have the attachment system at all. Now, once in a while, that's an educational thing where maybe an architect, isn't fully aware of what this product fully entails, and just puts in the specification that you need the film. Okay, great, but that's only getting you halfway home. And to the letter, yeah, you might be released from any liability, but you should really take it to the next step and say, hey, by the way, we're not completely secured here. This still needs some glazing. We can do it for you next week. So that's and then I ran into another situation where it was just regular caulk that you do on a bathtub. Like, no, this stuff is actually
Wow.
structural adhesive, engineered to
Yeah.
bond this film to these frames. So really, it's the biggest thing that we did was get educated on this stuff. There's various testing for these films that are kind of difficult to navigate, because you're the American standard test is different weighted balls dropped from different heights, in a pass or fail test. Well, in the real world application, this is a human with the different levels of motivation and different tools and different physical abilities. So I want to make sure that anything that I do is going to give itself the best chance to hold up against a real deranged individual that's very strong and has what he needs to gain access to a building. So
Mhm.
that's what we're after.
That's important. And the other thing that's really important for us to talk about when we talk about this particular product, safety and security window films, and our crime prevention personnel, when we go back to our respective communities and encourage businesses and schools to consider these products, when we're talking about this, there are two. two different companies that you work with, and these companies provide the products to you that you've tested. I've looked at
Yep.
everything that's on your website, the things that you've done to make sure that your personnel and your crews understand these products. And nothing is going to be permanently being able to get anybody from not getting it. But the key is to slow the process down and to eliminate
Correct.
and to give time for people to secure themselves, as well as being able to, particularly as it relates to schools, get the children back into a safe place. Talk to us about this information here that you got at your site and how important that is.
Yeah, the main manufacturers that we choose to work with are going to be Lumar and Matico, but that's not saying bad things about other manufacturers. This is just I've we as a company have been um, happiest with the communication, the consistency of the product, how much testing they've put into their own products. So, I'm not the type of person, and we're not the type of company that's going to badmouth, company XYZ.
Mm-hmm.
But these, we put these on our shirts, we put these on our business cards, and we put these companies on our website for a reason. And it's because we feel confident in representing what they manufacture. Lumar happens to be the only manufacturer of film in North America, and that matters to me. I prefer to keep our money in our country, and I've met a lot of people that are the ones on the floor making this film day in day out, and these are people that really care about what they do and stand behind what they do. So that's why we go that route. But again, not to say anything bad about other products, but
Right.
whenever we have had maybe some small quality control issues. We haven't been met with any resistance. Whenever we've had any questions about technical aspects of the film that are way above my pay grade, there's somebody to answer the phone. So those are the type of things. I like to work with people that I can trust, and I want the people that I serve to be able to trust us and what we do.
And I think that's really important because this particular product, and I think it was about 2 years ago when I first started hearing and seeing information about the window films. And I said, well, let me just search. And there were products on Amazon and all these
Oh
other
yeah,
places that just, oh, we've got the perfect and the most greatest product in the world. And it's like,
yep,
folks, trust the reputable sites. Do your homework.
yes,
Don't just, okay, it's cheaper on Amazon or some location
yeah,
that's selling these products. You want to make sure that you've got quality in film that's been tested, that has a reputation behind it, and the companies that work
correct,
with them. And that's so important. And with your crew, this is something that I really wanted to kind of get your perspective because this is the process. Talk to us
yep.
about this process of installing security film.
And I'm glad that is a great segue because it is important that you do have a high quality, high performance film, but you could have the best film on the planet, and if you don't have competent hands installing that, what good is it? The workmanship and the craftsmanship that goes into this is not. I could teach you and anybody else. With a decent attitude, how to put some window tint on their living room windows in an afternoon. No problem.
Mm-hmm.
This is a completely different animal. These products are much more rigid. They're much harder to work with. They're not pliable. So, with a regular window tint, you can kind of bend it into a corner and stuff like that. No, these need to be uh, more times than not. There's some few exceptions, but these need to be pre-cut, and they need to be pre-cut with great accuracy. So, if you want this product to hold up in the event of an emergency, you're going to want that film to be absolutely as tight to the edge as you possibly can. So that's step one is you getting. Step one is making sure you have a very clean window. So now you have a clean window. Now let's get that film cut. Now that film cut, is you think it's something. It's not that big of a deal. You're just cutting something. Well, no, this stuff fights you every step of the way
Yeah.
because this thing is built, for a fight. So you have to get this stuff cut just so. And then now you need some strong hands that are going to push this stuff on. Regular window films, a mil and a half. This stuff, you really should be getting into something, at the low end, 4 or 5 mils, but typically the standard that we see nowadays is 8 mil on up. Anything 10 and above is considered a thick film. So you have a nice little barrier between you and the slip solution between the film and the glass. So you need to really muscle it on. With regular window film, you'll use just a handheld tool. What we use predominantly for security film is called Thor's hammer, but it's just kind of like a super squeegee with a very rigid blade at the end and a handle so you can get all your leverage into it. So you got to really push that stuff down.
Yeah, and I think
Now comes, go
this
ahead.
picture that's in the middle, I think that's what you're talking about, correct?
Yep, yep.
Yeah, that's the tool. Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta, that's no walk in the park. You gotta really, and on top of that, you need to make sure that the part of that hard squeegee that's touching the glass is in good repair, because you're not gonna, if you have even the tiniest little nick in that, now wherever that nick is pushing across that film, that water's not getting pressed out. Now that water over time will kind of pool up, and now you have a bubble. It's not the end of the world, but it's unsightly more than it is hurting its functionality.
Mhm.
But my idea is that you really don't know that we were ever here. This is kind of an invisible protection.
Yeah.
The only thing that I have gotten some pushback, from schools and businesses in the past, is the attachment system. Now it's gonna be a little bit more bulky than your rubber gaskets or vinyl gaskets that you already have in your glass, but this is what's really giving it strength. Now we are incredible at making this as aesthetically pleasing as we can, but I also tell people, I'm trying to be as invisible as I can, but I didn't get hired to make your windows look prettier.
Yeah.
I was hired to make your windows more safe and secure. So, that's kind of another thing we have to navigate. And there's some other products, the little plastic finishes that can go over it to conceal it a little bit. But yeah, that's really what's doing all the heavy lifting, is the bond created by this structural adhesive.
So, Drew, you touched on something when I was at your website and doing some research on this, the mill itself, because you have from 8 mil to 13.
Yep.
What's the difference, and how are the consumers? How are you providing them information about which level you want to go to, at a minimum or to the maximum? How is that decision made? How do you talk to schools and to businesses who are looking at this product? How do you find that range that's most important for them?
Which, that's a great question. Unfortunately, the driver in a lot of this is going to be budget. I am of the mindset that I would rather have you wrap as much of your building with an 8 mil film than a tiny portion of your building with the thickest film, because you really, it's impossible to predict where a perpetrator is going to attack. Now we have good ideas, and there are certain patterns that we've seen with criminal activity, but you never know.
Yeah.
So as long as it's typically I try to advise people to coat windows that are 6 feet above the ground, or under, and I would rather see more windows done than that. Now, if money's no issue, yeah, let's go with 13 mil everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
In a perfect world, that's what it is. But there are budgets. In the real world, it comes down to dollars and cents a lot of times. So, what I'll tell people is like, hey, maybe we'll go with the thick film on the front door and the side light to that, or these high priority areas, and then we can kind of stretch out the product by going with a lesser, a thinner film in other spots. So thicker is always better with this stuff, but it comes down to budget.
Yeah. So one of the things too, particularly for crime prevention practitioners, and a number of us have gone through the training for Alice and for Crash, all of the things that we're seeing now to help protect our school buildings, and a number of us as crime prevention practitioners have also gone through the certification for CPTEP, Crime Prevention Through Environmental Design. And when you've worked with schools, and private as well as public, and they've provided you information from a security survey. Have you engaged with? Here are the things that we're seeing based on the content of information you provided for us from your survey, as well as what are your wishes. We are here based on these recommendations, but what would you like? How are those two areas combined with how you reach out and meet with the communities and the schools and those private entities?
Yeah, well, those just in my, you know, nearly 15 years of doing this, I've been so impressed with where, from architects down to, the tradesmen, how design has started to shift.
Mm-hmm.
There's even some new school buildings that don't have very long straight hallways. They have a slight curve to it, just in case there was an active shooter. So they lose, an angle kind of cuts off their ability to shoot. Another thing that we've are seeing more and more regularity is split window doors. Instead of having a full door light,
Yeah.
they'll have a top and a bottom sash with aluminum in between. So there are secured entrances. You're not going to find many schools anymore that don't have a second set of
A second
locked
set of doors.
doors.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
so all
Yes.
these things, we're all working together on that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if again it comes into budget, if school isn't going to be able to, afford those brand new doors with the split lights, we can put a thick film on your existing door lights to get you through in the next few years until maybe you do have the money for it. So it really is, about everybody, us educating the architects, and them coming up with designs that are conducive to keeping kids safe. But really, it comes down to this kind of balance between wanting a bunch of natural light in schools and glass being the weakest point of schools.
Yeah.
Natural light makes us happier. We heal faster. We retain more information because of it. So now we're kind of seeing a shift in design where the windows are just higher. We don't really have as many ground level windows and all that stuff. So yeah, we are, our products are a good fit for both a retrofit and new construction. And it's just, an emphasis on secure design, I'll say, is something I've noticed a huge emphasis on, and I think that's better for everyone in the long run because of that.
Mm-hmm. So, Joe, there's two more areas that I want you to give us some information on, because I find these two organizations or these businesses that you've got information on. Tell us how these work. In addition to the film that we've just talked about from those two companies, but Bullet Shield and then Defense Light, what's the emphasis of these two companies that you work with?
Well, here's the thing. These are the products that everybody wants and everyone really should have as many places as they could, but the price points are drastically different between this and security film. Security film is incredible. It can go just about anywhere. You can get it in tints to save on air conditioning costs. You can get it in a tint that'll make it one-way mirror effect. But the buzzword that everybody wants is bulletproof, bullet resistant. And I already take bulletproof and I walk people back to bullet resistant. Because these things are not rated, to hold up against an army. These are rated typically, at a few shots at a certain distance, 15 feet or so. And they pick different calibers and you get different ratings based on that. So with the Defense Light and Bullet Shield are going to be coming from the same manufacturer, but Defense Light is going to be thinner. And then there's Defense Light Pro, which is a little bit thicker, and then you keep getting more and more thicker when you get into the Bullet Shield. Now it's going to be a polycarbonate, which is, it's not actual glass. It is a polycarbonate that will that will hold up against bullets. Now it's retrofit to either the inside or the outside of the glass. There's pros and cons to each. The thing that we deal with in an education environment is we got a lot of hands that love to pick at stuff.
Yeah.
So in a school setting, it's not such a bad idea to have it on the outside where the kids can't, mar it up, tag it, cut into it with keys and all that stuff. There is sacrificial layers of film on this polycarbonate, but that's why it's like maybe it would be a good exterior application for a school. But now basically what you're doing, this is not good for every glass, but more times than not, schools are built with commercial aluminum frames, and that is ideal for these products. So basically what you're doing, and I'm going to oversimplify it, is you're going to take a sheet of polycarbonate and you're going to screw into your existing frames some extruded aluminum that become the frame for this polycarbonate. So you have your existing glass, and then now on the inside or outside of the frames, you screw in more aluminum, and then you put in this piece of polycarbonate that is going to hold up, that's going to have the bullet resistance. So, and we are one of a few, dealers for this product in the country, and we chose them because they have, a proprietary venting technology that's going to hold up in basically any environment. Very humid Florida conditions, snow, rainy, all the stuff that we have here in Michigan. So these products are the top of the line. They are the strongest, but they come at a premium, and they do a great job of blending in. So it's another, very invisible product that will take it, as far as you can possibly go. It holds up just as well as bullet resistant glass. And, like I say, the only thing that's, preventing every school from having it everywhere is the price point.
Yeah. And what's amazing, and as I was talking with your staff members and reading the information on your site, I get flashbacks of different groups that we've had at the conferences in the past, and one of those individuals was a co-author of a very famous study on crime prevention and fixing broken windows. And Dr. Keller, about 15 years ago, we were able to bring him to our conference, and it was one of those last minute agreeing to come because he had never been in Traverse City, and he was en route to his location in a family home in Wisconsin. So he was really excited. But I got a chance to spend an evening with him to just pick his brain because the book was phenomenal regarding crime prevention tips. And what he was talking about was how do you fix, and you need to fix the windows because if they stay broken, then it assumes that it's okay. And in this case, as we have a new application for fixing broken windows or to help deter the windows from being broken or access, your products help do that. This is a deterrent.
Completely.
This is a deterrent that many of us, as we talk with our schools, our businesses, and are looking at how do we help not only slow the threat, but from our perspective and the training that it's going on right now with Alice and with Crash, and help make sure that we stop the threat, to fight, defend, and that whole process that we're all engaging in to help stop schools violence threats. Your products are one step in addition to everything else that we're working on and being a part of. So, Joe, thank you for this information. And what I'd like to do as we prepare to close, you have on your website frequently asked questions. And I think that that's something that's really important for those of us who are in crime prevention, who will be at the conference as we take this back to the schools. Talk to us about why this information that you have on your website, in addition to those testimonials of the products that you have there, people who have used it, why is that important for your service?
It's imperative that people know because, like I kind of touched on earlier, there is basically no baseline education for these products with people. So, if I'm going to give you what you need, I need you to understand what you need. So there's different products for different levels, and just kind of understanding what it entails, what it does, but more importantly, what it doesn't, is a great starting point to get people aware of what we're trying to accomplish and how we're going to do it and what it's going to look like. But like I keep saying, what it's not going to do. You know, I was getting, we had a huge summer of doing this in schools a few years ago, and every time we walked in, the secretaries were like, "Oh, there's the bulletproof guys," and I was like, "Don't you dare!
Right,
If
right.
you see somebody on the other side of the glass with a gun, you get down
Yeah.
right now." So yeah, don't
Right.
there's no baseline education. So we want to make sure that everybody is completely aware of what it does, and like I say, what it doesn't as well.
And in all seriousness, this is such an important topic for us right now.
Mm-hmm.
Every day we're hearing about another incident, or we're hearing about another call in or text threat or something posted online that the schools have to respond to, the law enforcement community has to respond to, and it's all hands on deck. From every staff member, every school personnel, the teachers, the principals. And it's not about living in fear. My goal has been, in all my 30 plus years, is crime prevention is a way of life. And with this
Completely.
product and what we have to do with our schools and all of our community members is to be prepared. And that's the most important part about what West Michigan glass coating is helping all of us to do. So as we prepare for the conference and members who will be able to get this information, one last tip: what would you like for us to be able to reach out, and what you're going to be explaining to us, how important these products are, but also access to you and your service?
Yeah, I tell everybody, use us as a resource. Even if you're not planning on doing, any work this year, or you're not going to use us. My sister Angela and I, we spend so much time on the educational portion of these products, that we want that knowledge, to go to good use. So, visit our website, call us direct, send us an email, whatever it takes. The education is the most important part of this, and we're here to help. Everybody in our company that puts this stuff on glass has kids. We have school age kids, so this is a product, and that means a lot to us, and that we take very seriously. Because we want our kids coming home at night too.
Excellent. And I know that there's some other things that we were talking about, but I know that based on our work and other presenters who will be with us from the Office of School Safety for the state of Michigan, as well as the state police, and there may at some point be additional grant opportunities that will come down the road. And if you find out about any of those, please feel free to reach out to us, and we can make sure that our members know about any grants that might be available or things that might be coming from all of these various sources for school safety that may apply to your products. So if you could do that for us, we would absolutely appreciate it immensely.
We would be more than happy to do that for you, Rich.
Well, Joe, on behalf of the Crime Prevention Association of Michigan and all of our members across the state of Michigan who will see this video and also participate at the conference, we thank you. We look forward to seeing and spending some time with you at the conference and picking your brain some more, as well as hearing about these amazing products. Again, my name is Rich Coleman. I'm the host for the program and the Crime Prevention Association of Michigan, the CPAM blog that we have with this information and these resources that we're having. And we want to make sure that our members have access to the presenters who cannot attend. We're doing virtual. We're doing as much as we can to reach all of those individuals. Again, thank you, Joe, so much. And we look forward to seeing you very soon.
All right. We'll see you soon, Rich.
Take care now.